Delta for a map 1, and it's going to be a PvP, which I predict will be rather brutal. I don't think this is going to be a slow back and forth series. I think we're going to see some big gambles from both sides, starting with our red player in the top left side of the map. Of course, it is none other than Jieshi.
Taking on the blue Protoss in the bottom right hand corner, we have ourselves Nice.
All right, Nice, a bit more willing to go for the high ground pylon, whereas Jieshi's like, one gate expand is the way. It's a good map for one gate expand, honestly. I feel like maps like this, not that short a rush distance, you got a good ramp on the natural. One gate expand is the more solid opening, but it doesn't mean there isn't room for trickery and play if you are going to go for the 2-gate style. Nice so far has not scouted, which shows he wants a hyper-optimized early game to start off. And he could still go for the 1-gate expand, especially now we do see the second gas, so a little bit less likely for him to rush that. Does look like a 2-gate.
Well, it is second gate coming down, so we are going to be seeing that happening. Obviously, we have the 1 gate on the low ground on the other side, so 2 different openers to start us off. Sidedial is one of the very few maps we have in this map pool, especially one that likely get played. That's got this kind of ramp that allows you to kind of go for the 1-gate low ground setup. So you're going to try and make use of that. It's something which Nice could try and abuse, but obviously if you try and abuse it, then that's pretty rough because it's a ramp.
Second probe comes out immediately. So Jieshi, because he's tracking the first probe, he's really worried about the proxy. So immediately Nice sent a second probe out so he could hide it. Nice move. This is a really good move. Jieshi both respecting the proxy all in that he knows is probably going to come once the 1-gate's scouted, and Nice also realizing you have to hide it. If the proxy gets scouted and he knows what it is, it's way weaker. This is a very clever move by Nice. I love the way he's done this.
Yeah, it's very neat because now you, like you say, you just don't assume anything, and so we've got ourselves a cheeky little probe. Gonna build that robot facility, and the tricks and everything is already starting here. Gotta absolutely love that.
He's gonna see that is a mighty bear main base of Nice, and Jieshi will be pretty aware of what's happening. The question is, what's the response? He's gonna need to go. I think he's going Robo. Yeah, he's going Robo. Okay, cool. Because I was like, man, he doesn't have enough gas for Stargate. It's kind of too late to go Stargate. You can't really go Stargate after Stalker. So he's going to go just 1-gate Robo against 2-gate Robo, but with the power of the batteries for the defense. I think this is one of the best ways to stop this. I think Jieshi's read the play very well. On the other hand, even that 20-second delay on the Robo, plus that Robo being so close for Nice, will give him the potential to do some real damage. You can see he's got to get the wall off here. Needs 150 minerals. There we go. Gets there just before the Adept Shade can arrive.
Yeah, gets that wall off so the Adepts will not be able to do too much straight away. Just going to be held off. Taking a Shade just to obviously get a bit more info and just see over, but the setup really is there for our red Protoss player. Just needs to get himself. He's getting an Observer first. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily help too much. Nope, cancels that, and he's going to save up for something else instead. There's the Immortal, so he's realizing a bit of what's going on, and now he gets the Immortal ready. That definitely is a step in the right direction.
It is. That delay, though, does cost you. There's already a second Immortal on the way for Nice. Wow. 2 Immortals before Prism. Really? Nice not building a pylon. Has Nice forgotten, or is he just looking to trade units? I think he's just looking to trade. I think he's like, whatever. Oh, no. He definitely needs a pylon. This is a big mistake for Nice. Second Immortal is on the way. Battery overcharge, buying some time right now. The Stalker micro from Jieshi is really good so far.
Yes, being able to kind of just buy himself as much time as possible, as we obviously do want to knock down. Ooh, the pylon would be a huge target. Another pylon comes up, but we can still depower at least one of the gateways with that. We're going to go back to hitting that other gate as well, so able to put some more damage out. We are seeing the extra gates coming online for Jieshi, and so we're getting closer and closer to really kind of being fully set up and defended here. He's up 10 workers, of course, with that extra base. Nice needs to break through. He just ain't making it happen just yet, as he's going to try for the Cybercore next. But yeah, needs that high ground vision to keep on shooting.
Force fields are real scary as well. You can't step onto that ramp anymore. You could get trapped by these force fields, but pretty good pullback for Nice. I think that was well done. 2 force fields baited, don't lose any units. Nice has still got a scary army, and he's going to go Robo Bay. He's going to go Disrupt the Siege, realizing, oh gosh, I'm already deep behind. I need to keep going at this point. He's going to start taking out these gateways, but Jieshi's already rebuilt 2 of those in the main. He's expecting to lose these gates. His Cybercore's rebuilding the main as well. Nice, does do some nice hot pickups. but Jieshi's got the battery healing available and a prism of his own. Honestly, Jieshi looks unbreakable unless the disruptors find the money. And against a 15 worker advantage, I mean, you're going to need the biggest disruptors of all time. Nice, once again, hitting his second supply block of the game. Not a great way to start this series. He will be kicking himself over those slight mistakes, something that Nice is normally known for being a little bit tighter in that regard.
Well, it's Prism into the main, so we're going to try and just split it up. I mean, I like that Nice is doing something different because breaking at the front was not looking to be too much of a thing. So this is where you can maybe split Jieshi up and maybe give yourself an opportunity still. But, man, the split is looking okay so far. Nice does not find the moment to dive forward on the front lines. Our first disruptor is going to be here soon. That could open the doorway, but it does need to be a great shot.
And I want to see a second one chronoed immediately when he gets 150 gas. I feel like just warp in zealots and disruptors is all you got to do right now because you are starving for gas. Jieshi just scouted no natural, by the way. His probe's still alive on the other side of the map. Crazy prism going across the map there. Oh, disruptor going forward. That is a crazy disruptor drop potentially here. Adepts are getting shot down. The disruptor does unload. He's looking for the shot, but he's a bit far back.
Gets an Adept and a Sentry, which is something better than nothing at all, but obviously we're talking about getting big connections and huge ways to kind of open up the map. That is not it. Now the Adepts across the map, the Prism going across here is going to benefit because now you force a warp in here as well, so there's going to be some good denial in terms of units on the other side. That's going to help you in a big way. This Disruptor looking to try and get a cheeky shot up while his opponent's not watching it. Is going to go for 3 units and the Immortal forced to heal up on the battery.
You need your Prism at home against this. Because if you have your Prism, you can run forward with your Immortals and just pick them up with the 2 Immortals, but they can also kill a Disruptor in 3 or 4 shots. You also need an Observer of your own. Jieshi's just going to shove down the ramp. That's one way to do it. He's going to push Nice back. Nice needs to wait for those balls to be ready. One of them does come off cooldown. Oh my gosh, he moves into it. Miss micro from Jieshi. He might still have the numbers. 4 Immortals is huge. Tries to pick up, but a bunch of the warping and Adepts do go down. Nice needs to retreat until the Disruptors are ready. He's trying to do a fighting battle here as he falls back, but he's only got 2 Immortals against 4. That Immortal firepower is extreme. Zealot warp in for Nice is really good, but look at that force field. That is a clutch field if I've ever seen one. Disruptor shot does come out. Nice pick up there. Saves the Immortals. Only 1 Stalker goes down. Another Disruptor does pop out, but the production is being depowered. Great Disruptor shot on the warping and Adepts. There's just no firepower left here for Nice. He doesn't have the numbers. He gets good Disruptor shots, but as we said, he needs great Disruptor shots because he's been at half of the economy of his opponent for far too long.
He needed so much here, and he just didn't quite find enough, as this is going to be Jieshi with way too much in the end. You can see it. He just has the numbers. He just lose 1 Immortal, but you know what? Does not matter. Game is called, and this game plan of Nice did not work out well enough, unfortunately. So that is going to be our Red Protoss player able to take the first game of this series. I would say, kind of based on performances so far, Jieshi to me is kind of the favorite coming in. He was very good in the groups, whereas Nice definitely stumbled a little bit through the groups. And, you know, when I see that Jieshi kind of scrapes through past Firefly in the previous round and Nice had to scrape through Nanami, I do feel like, you know, for me, Jieshi's going to be the favorite. And everything about this game kind of suggested that. He was like, cool, I'm okay to expand. He figured out the, you know, aggression of his opponent, and he shut it down pretty well. He had a great read, and he put himself in a great spot to kind of close it out. So, GG's for game 1, and game 2 coming up with that Jieshi 1-0 lead.
You know, there's part of me that goes, oh, do you really want to do that sort of all-in on site Delta? But then on the other hand, you go, well, you hit it well. He doesn't really know you're going Robo. So what if you were going for a proxy or double Oracle into an expand just a little bit later, right? Like, you know, at the point when he's committing to the Robo and stuff, he doesn't know for sure what's going on. That being said, Jieshi probed pretty well. It's not like he froze on 25 workers and was like, just hard counter the push. He was on 33 probes by the time the first units were arriving. So I do think Jieshi kind of knew exactly how to play 100% safe there and played it out very, very well. Not the map for that sort of aggression to start the series, especially when you combine it with things like the supply blocks. There was 2 supply blocks, 1 on 39, 1 on 55 for Nice. Can't afford that. It's Razor's Edge in those sorts of games. And I like how he kind of pulled units into the main, but part of me wishes he had a sentry, hallucinated a Warp Prism, flew it in the main, pulled those units out of position, and then shoved the ramp. The problem on that map is you can't shove the ramp without the Prism there because you just get force fielded and then you're screwed. So you really need the Prism as like if I run up the ramp, I don't get trapped here. I can always pick up and ferry the units back to the low ground.
I was about to say we're going, but then we said wait, and then apparently we're going anyways. So it's going to be Crimson Core for game number 2. And we'll see if Jieshi's going to stick with trying to expand. Obviously, again, different map. You know, maybe you do not feel as comfortable, but we are in a meta in PvP where expanding is fairly popular. That new sentry makes it a lot easier than it ever has been, so it is an expansion-heavy meta, but, you know, on any given day, I wouldn't have looked at these two names and been like, oh yeah, you know, a big, long expansion PvP. This is meant to be aggressive, back and forth, feisty PvP, so we'll see what Crimson Court has in store for us, as we'll be starting off to the top right side. The red Protoss player from Dragon Kaiser Gaming is Jieshi.
And his opponent in the bottom left, the underdog. He's had a tough season so far. Let's see if he can rally in this match. It is nice. It's nice. PvP's a cruel mistress, I feel like, sometimes. I mean, I also think, you know, I feel like there's an alternate timeline where Nice grew up in a region that wasn't Taiwan and didn't have to play 4,000 PvPs against Haas, because I feel like that does something to you. And you might be wondering, what do you mean by something? I mean, it's got to damage your brain in some way, right? Like, there's got to be doubts that enter your brain when you've played enough PvPs versus Haas. You've got to basically just wonder what PvP even is as a matchup, because that man turns this into what he refers to as unashamedly as a coin flip, and that's all he tries to do every PvP. But it's nice, like, you could see the frustration year after year of playing against Haas, and no matter how much he'd figured out how to macro better, micro better, Haas would always find a way to surprise him. And PvP is a good matchup for that sort of trickery, and I do feel like that's the history of Nice, whereas, you know, Jieshi's had practice partners over the years like Jim, Cyan, Firefly. I think he's had a little bit more of a range of competition in his regionals, and it has given him very well-rounded PvP.
I think that's a great way to put it. These PvP is in the Asia region. The best guys do seem to be from that China region of old. You're right, Nice. You know, obviously ended up against Haas so often, was a big breakthrough for him to get through him. It's funny because originally Nice was kind of like a mini Haas, right? He was a super aggressive guy as well. Like, he clearly looked up to Haas, like king of his region. And it's almost like as Nice kind of branched out more into like the rest of the world and playing in more international tournaments, he's like, oh, there's all these other ways to play. And he definitely did adjust his play somewhat to that. It's funny to look at the history of these guys. The probes pulled to get a kill there.
Yeah, Jieshi got a little bit too fancy for his own good there. And Nice does punish him, gets a probe kill. That always feels good, especially after losing game one. Just a little up like that can give you a bit of momentum. Both players playing 2-gate, quick Stargate plus double Adept for Nice. So it's been 2 Adepts, 2 games in a row for him, whilst it is a 2 Stalker opening for Jieshi. I would imagine we're going to see a Sentry and an Expand behind those 2 Stalkers. Oh, Stargate of his own. And in his opponent's vision. Ooh. That almost feels like you got to wonder, is he going to cancel it? You're like, oh, he built it in front of me. You know, he's not even trying to hide it. But no, it's completely fine. Jieshi's just like, no, 2 Stalkers, Stargate, Nexus. And I think he's just going to go a couple of Phoenix to shut down any Oracle play and then play Blink of his own from there.
Yeah, it's it's kind of wild to kind of, like you say, build it in front of your opponent, because Nice, well, he's still going to go Oracle despite knowing the Stargate of his opponent. Obviously, does mean he can maybe go Phoenix after, so he can start to shut down the Oracle as well, so he has that option. That information is just big. If he does kind of decide that that's what's happening, he actually is across the map with an Adept here, so he gets the confirmation there is still a Stargate. That's big, because now he knows he can build a Phoenix to get on top of his opponent's Oracle, and it will not be a waste. He's also just going to get 3 probes, which is really nice in itself. So Nice, not a bad setup.
Yeah, I thought delayed Stargate, you'd have to go Phoenix, not Oracle, because it's kind of like being scouted, and Phoenix is kind of the more well-rounded, safe option. But I guess he didn't know about the Stargate of his opponent, so that kind of makes sense in that regard, where Jiechi's, you know, not aware of the Stargate, and as a result, this Oracle does come in along with these Adepts. Nice pairing up with the pressure there. The Stalkers need to focus the Oracle. That's the big damage dealer, and he does do so, but that allows the Adepts to pick up a few more kills. Lovely harassment for Nice. This is a beautiful opening. 8 probes this early is massive.
Yeah, huge amount of damage done, and unless Jieshi finds something himself, which, well, there's a Phoenix there, he's just in so much trouble. He's down in a massive amount of workers, so many for an early game PvP mirror, and, well, you had a little bit of army supply that can't really be used. Your Oracle goes down now too, so you don't even have that to utilize. This is terrible. Nice is all, you know, on all of the advantages basically in this game. Number 2, nice and early. The little things have just gone his way.
Oh, even gonna get another probe potentially. Took a bit too long for the second attack there. Little bit too much stepping and stuttering and not enough actual shooting there. Oh, I like it. Jieshi's like, when behind Dark Shrine, you know, I need a big gamble. I'm kind of screwed. Nice, apparently, is like, you know what? We both went Stargate into Twilight. Neither of us can afford a Robo right now. Let's also go Dark Shrine. So they're both identifying the same pattern. The Phoenix should have seen that. I'm not 100% sure Nice did, though. Even though I believe he got the vision of it, I'm not sure he actually looked up there. And actually, no, he didn't get the vision of it. Oh, damn. That's crazy, man. So that's unfortunate. Barely missing it. Now, obviously, he has an Oracle for detection, whereas Jieshi doesn't. So arguably, he's got the better setup. He's also got the pylon on the front to warp in forward. So I don't see this bringing it back for Jieshi, but we'll see. If either player drops a Robo in a moment, that'll be a big advantage. Forge for Jieshi. Oh, I mean, I guess you could get a cannon in each base. It's better than nothing, but I don't think that's going to be up in time.
Yeah, that's going to take a little while. I mean, DTs are on the verge of being built here. I guess maybe with a slow warp in, maybe there's some possibility. We do just have that Phoenix heading up to the right-hand side, so off and away we go. Obviously, we just have ourselves the, well, DT's warping in now, so Forge is going to finish. I mean, it might be close. You start cannons immediately, but yeah. Starts one at the
DT's
front.
already warping in. It can definitely get into the main if he just runs it straight past. And if he does that, all you can do is build an Oracle, which you don't have enough gas for right now as Jieshi. I mean, arguably you could force field him out of the main or block the ramp or something like that if you see it. But oh, he sees it. He sees it. He does spot the blur. The Stalkers are in position. Cannon starts in the main. Oh, Jieshi's good, man. Real good eyeballs there. Sees the shimmer of the Dark Templar even without detection, and he's ready for it.
Realizes what's up and plays it correctly. Cannon finishes up on that front so you can deflect that DT as well. And he's going to keep himself in this as we have one DT approaching on the other side. Would love to get a couple of probe kills here. Sees that the minerals are being mined out. He's going to go for the guaranteed kill. He's going to see another Propius. He's going to get a second. And confirms the third base is there, which is obviously one of the advantages Nice is taking. From the better economy early, he's had a few more minerals to spare. So he's going to spare them onto the expansion and just go from that.
You know, Nice doesn't have that big of a worker lead. He's got the third, though, which is, of course, nice. Behind on upgrades, though. Robo timing similar. Jieshi's doing all the right things to give himself a shot in this game. He still finds himself with an uphill battle. But if he, I mean, honestly, I think if he wins this game after this opening, it's like basically 3-0. There's almost no doubt in my mind, right? Oh, good catch. Wow. Dude, Jieshi's a sicko. I'm really impressed. I think you learn a lot from watching a player play from behind, don't you? Like, you really get to see their caliber.
Because they have to kind of really impress to kind of get back in the game, right? So you see all the little things they will try and do. That's a nice catch on the DT here, at least, though. So Nice will get this cleanup. And Jieshi has to keep on trying to find other bits and pieces to bring himself back with this. He will have that faster +1. So he will have an upgrade lead. If the fights take place and the numbers are similar, that upgrade will have a big impact. So that's one more thing we can watch out for. Another Stalker gets warped in on the front of the third base. As we just have the numbers getting settled. And honestly, at this point, the game definitely feels to be kind of leveling out a little. The big difference is still that third base a bit faster from Nice and a few more probes. Yep. He's also going to have a way faster charge upgrade, so maybe that can be utilized in some of the upcoming fights as well.
8 gates versus 4 gates, so Nice has already got a lot of the infrastructure going with that. That little bit of momentum is big. To me, it feels like Jieshi's best chance is just do nothing but make Blink from here, Blink Stalkers, and mass them. Because I think Nice is probably going to lean aggressively onto you to try to finish the game with the advantage that he has. Oh, wow, he just warped in 4 Dark Templars. So, oh, that's a great move. If he Stalker pressures the front at the same time with Zealots, takes a 4th, and DT drops, if he can clear the cannon in the main, that could be huge. Right now, there is only one Observer out for Jieshi. And that's, of course, very hard to defend with, but no pressure at the front. He's just going to go in blind. Stalker warp it instantly. Jieshi is so quick, realizing what was happening. Even the probe's limiting surface area, but even with all that reaction, it's not enough. He quickly recalls the Observer, though, and that should get it done.
Yeah, that's the defense, but a few probes going down. Obviously, the Prism just evacuates all the DT, so no loss there. Oh. This DT gets a couple more kills, and out of range of the cannon. It's going to be very happy.
Oh, that was really well done. That DT on the natural is what got all the kills. That's a 9-kill Dark Templar. Yeah, I was like, when did the probes die? I didn't see any probes die. I'm like, oh gosh, he's just having a little stab down there in the natural. And he gets out. Nice is still playing a good game. You know, as much as we've been singing Jieshi's praises from behind, Nice is still doing what he needs to do. A bit of insurance, cannon battery at each base. adding some Archon Zealot, slowly adding gases, keeping a good solid worker advantage. And as his army grows, I do expect him to never really let our Red Protoss Jieshi get a 4th base. That being said, Nice is a little slow to start +2. Be cool if he could do that.
Definitely one thing he needs. The one thing he's really lacking is the upgrades. So it's one way in which he's behind, but that doesn't matter if the army supply is that much larger, which with better economy it could have been. However, this is Jieshi with, 9 more Stalkers. There's not, I guess there's a couple of Archons here from Nice, but they have to be able to get into the fight as well, right? They are going to be short-range units, and, if they can't actually get involved, then Stalker count here from Jieshi could do very well. Already the Archon's being forced to pull back. A couple of Zealots do leak through. You have a DT there as well. We're going to shoot down the Observer of his opponent. Oh, I took a shot, but it doesn't go down. Killing the Observer on the other side is big, because any Observer dead means potential for DTs to warp in defensively.
Yep, and there is one DT there for Nice now after killing both of Jieshi's Observers. Jieshi here tries to get it done with the Stalker advantage, but I think Nice with the DTs, the Defender's advantage, the Archon Immortal coming in as well, are massive. Not to mention, really good Prism Micro by Nice. The way he was ferrying those Archons to the back early on was huge. DT even comes in from behind the army, and that's a crushing defense for Nice. 4 base against 3 base. Jieshi did a lot of things right to make this game competitive. On the other hand, Nice just had a crisp, dynamic opening, and that's what we're seeing from him so far. Dynamic openings, lots of Adept aggression. Jieshi's got to make sure he's on point. Letting that first Adept in his base, I feel like was the beginning of the end, because he recalled his Stalkers when they could have done damage on the other side of the map, and they also could have scouted that it was a Stargate. But it felt like he didn't quite realize what was happening, even though he'd seen 4 Adepts in the early game, right? He should have known 4 Adepts. We should expect Oracles behind that. That's kind of the standard follow-up, but he was reeling from the early Adept harassment, and things did put him behind. Now, Jieshi's still dancing with his opponent, still trying to look for advantages, find a way back into it. I really admire his ability to just play through these scenarios without looking desperate.
He just sort of says, hey, I'm going to take a 4th base, we're good, but there's obviously then on Nice to kind of come across and be like, well, no, you're not actually good. You're behind quite heavily, and that's what's going to be shown in this fight here as we work our way through. Obviously, battery can't overcharge here because there's not a finished Nexus, so you don't have any of the additional defensive advantage you might be hoping for in this situation. The 4th base downed, and this game looking as though it's going to come to a close with Nice, as we kind of expected. Tying the series up then, 1-1, and really gives us a series on our hands. 2 very different games, from Nice kind of being very committed to pressure the first game to just sort of finding a better opportunity in the second game. Jieshi making a mistake, like you say, letting that Adept in and everything. So as we continue through, just going to knock down cannons inside defense, which allows it to stand and fight. Army supplies are getting kind of close, but only because we're missing the warp in from Nice. And once that comes through, it's only going to get more and more one-sided in his favor.
Oh, and the Immortal saves. The Immortal saves seal the deal. That's so brutal. When you commit all your Stalkers in there, and then Nice just picks up the Immortal just as about to die. You focus the other one. That one barely gets saved by the Prism coming out of phase mode, flying over and catching it. Good Prism Micro by Nice. Lovely DT harassment as well. Pretty good defense from Jieshi, but those first Adepts and Oracles just did way too much. As you said, we got a series on our hand, and yesterday was a pretty quick day. A few series went by, Wardy. I think today we might be in for the long haul, mate. I thought this would be one of the quickest series today. Looking at that game, I'm like, oh no, these guys can actually go at each other back and forth for a while. So I am going to recorrect it. I think we are going to go for a good 11-hour plus broadcast today. What do you reckon, mate? Are you excited for that much StarCraft with me?
I love it, mate. Hey, at least if we go along today, you're the one that's showing up with me again tomorrow, so we're in it together.
That's true.
Yes.
We can both show up with half a soul tomorrow, looking like husks of human beings.
Yeah, at least I'm not going to show up and I get a fresh co-caster who's like, let's cast StarCraft. I'm like, I just finished casting StarCraft, mate. So, yeah. That's,
man, you guys that do the kind of hosting production job have definitely the harder and more exhausting job. I get to come in for, I did 1 before, so I'm doing 3 casts in total, just rocking up a few times, talk about video game. I once again feel very lucky to just be able to hop in, talk about the strategies while you guys actually have to do a little bit of work.
Well, let me just get readied up. Go is called here from the players. It's much nicer this season, to be fair, doing the production, because I don't have to observe. Turns out observing is actually very difficult, because For everything
tiring,
else,
right?
well, for everything else, if you start getting tired and you start losing focus, like, oh no, you changed the scene like 2 seconds late or something, right? In Observer,
Yeah.
you miss entire fights. So actually having the dedicated observers this season has been a big plus. Definitely makes the days a lot more chill on my side, so that's a big
Yeah,
difference.
observing's not that hard when you're just doing one game, you know? One series maybe at most. But when they start stacking up, it's like, oh god, this actually takes a lot of focus. If you want to talk good and observe good, it's really hard. And you're doing production as well. Big thanks for Mapu here, being our lovely observer, our man on the ground, showing us the action. In the top right side, tying up the series. Let's see if you can take it to an advantage in the top right. It's nice.
Bottom left in the red, it's opposition. It is Jieshi.
The one thing I do miss with our current production is the player cameras. I really, for me, watching Nice, every time he would win and he would just look so disappointed and just be like shaking his head. He'd always have this like kind of, it's kind of like a half smile. He has this like, it's kind of this weird, it looks like he's kind of laughing at himself, but he also looks very disappointed. He has this very odd expression whenever he's playing in these tournaments usually. And I always like kind of studying the players' reactions a little bit. I'm a big fan of absolutely over psychoanalyzing every little thing. I'm like, he's twitching, he's tilted, you know, like that sort of thing. So it's a shame, but it is a lot. And obviously we often have those cameras bug out anyway, especially when, you know, going cross region and firewalls and all sorts of different VPNs and things were included. So to be fair, I hope we do get them back at some point, but otherwise even more excitement for when they are on the main stage in person with the actual live cameras right in front of them.
Yeah, it's always good to see the reactions, and everyone kind of has their own way of looking when they get like DT'd or something. Definitely adds something to it. It was you kind of don't realize how much you look at it until it's gone, and then you're like, oh, I would have totally looked at his camera right now to see how disappointed he was that the DTs just showed up, or he didn't have detection, or Disrupt just shot, you know? So,
or how high will Drogo levitate his keyboard today, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I love Tio. Good man, Drogo. It's always good to see players that let a bit of emotions out. Personally, it's always added to the fun. I mean, for me, nothing like a good Serral kind of hair tussle, that angry hair tussle he does. Even after winning a game, if it didn't go perfectly, you know, it's always good seeing that intensity from the players. And let's talk about the builds. That is a very quick Nexus for Nice. Zealot Sentry up against Double Adept. So we're seeing a bit of a role reversal here where it looks like Jieshi is doing a more, I guess you could say, aggressive opening, and it's Nice who's just playing extremely greedy to start off.
Yeah, a complete role reversal from that first game, and again, this is a meta where you can go one gate high ground and then expand. It's something that has been done a fair amount. Sentries are so much more survivable against the Adepts. This typically follows up with a Stargate and Oracle, so the Sentry just doesn't die as often, so you can keep those units up. They zap a lot more, so they fight back a little bit. And now 2 more gates from Nice to follow this up, while Jieshi expands himself.
Speaking of Drogo, this is an old... I remember Drogo doing this build like 5 years ago. This is actually like a PvP build from 2018. Yeah, he's going to proxy a pylon, maybe even a gateway, probably just a pylon, and do a sentry push. It's not all in because you're on 2 bases, unless you actually cut probes. But because your opponent thinks, oh, you're expanding, they think, okay, I can both do pressure and be greedy. And then suddenly a whole bunch of Stalker Sentry arrives at their base at a really bizarre timing. And it's because they're thinking, is it Robo, is it Stargate, or is it Twilight? Little do they know you've skipped all the tech. You're just investing in gateways and even thinking about a 4th gateway as well on the front. Nice wall off so far for Nice. He's got the sentries there, which you could not do this build pre-patch, by the way. You needed some Stalkers to make it work. You can do it now because the sentries aren't light units. They don't take bonus damage from the Adepts anymore, so the Adepts only do half of their damage, even less than half technically. And this 4-gate is going to be very scary. On the other hand, Jieshi does have a Robo almost finished, so that's probably the best tech choice for helping to defend this.
Yeah, I was about to ask how worried you are about the Robo, but I think you answer, right? Like, if there is a tech structure to have, Robo is it. Twilight wouldn't give you an answer immediately. Stargate does very little for you here. Robo does give you a chance to get good defensive units out. Batteries are finishing. Immortal on the way. We're definitely figuring out a little bit of what's up, and we do force field in a Stalker initially, although we don't have a next Stalker. The Adepts will have to recall back home, and so Jieshi gets as many units as possible in place as Nice is going to get ready to send this. A little bit of a shame that these sentries now don't have energy. They can't be as useful as they might want to be. A couple extras warping in, and we actually do go shading forward with these Adepts. Guardian Shields will pop when we begin to take this fight as force fields continue, and it's Stalker versus Adept with some sentry support.
The Adepts actually do a great job of tanking here. They're not doing massive amounts of damage, but it adds up just the raw number of units that he built, because this was non-stop 2-gate production. Jieshi's build was just actually very safe because he did not pause the production whatsoever, and that's really worked in his favor. Now with the Immortal out as well, it's looking kind of rough for Nice. Oh, Nice does come forward with those 4 Adepts, does throw a couple volleys here. The Stalker Sentry, nice force field comes in, but the Immortal adds massive damage to those Stalkers. It's still a very close fight on both sides.
It is. We're starting to lose a lot more here, though, from Jieshi, as he just maybe stepped a bit too far forward. The reinforcements are nice, helping out a lot. This Immortal will stand and fight and just say, no point turning around now. Tries to get a few more shots off on the Stalkers. A couple more Adepts showed up. Another Immortal showing up as well, though, right? So that's a real power point, getting another Immortal in play.
Nice is behind 7 probes, dude, and he's playing full Taiwanese Haas style right now. Man drops a Stargate in the middle of a Gateway Robo War. He said, you know what? I'm going to try and go either Phoenix or Oracles and surprise you. But Nice is so slow to probe, because remember, he walled himself out of his natural. This is a disaster for him. He's going to have to recall probes from his natural to his main. He's got to kill that pylon. And Glaives is coming in for Jieshi, so he's going to have a crisp counter-attack timing. That was a good hold. Jieshi finds himself way ahead in this game. And honestly, it's just about stabilizing, clearing out those gateways, and then moving across the map. I don't see the Stargate giving you any comeback potential in this scenario. 2 Oracles in the main, maybe kill a few probes. It's not that big of a deal. It'll be too late to matter. Phoenix disabling an Immortal, also really not that big a deal. And it is indeed going to be the sneaky Oracle, but Nice is kind of clutching here for a desperate surprise maneuver because he realizes how far behind he is.
And that Glaives is so nice as well. You've already played quite Adept heavy. Your opponent being behind from this Glaives is such a good kind of upgrade to have when you're just going to be overwhelming him. And that's definitely what we're on the verge of doing here in terms of unit production with all those extra gates coming up. So the Adepts are going to be looking great from Jieshi very, very shortly. And Nice is really reliant on this Oracle dealing some damage, a Void Ray to come out defensively, but if this is Adept heavy, the Void Ray will not have the huge, the biggest roles to play defensively. At least it won't get shot down because there won't be any Stalkers, so I guess that's something. It can just sit there and fight. Maybe it would be able to put itself on an Immortal or so, and that could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's no answer to the Void Ray, but as you said, the Void Ray doesn't answer the army either. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Jieshi just kills him here. It's a battery in the main. Nice, not happy to see that. Goes to the natural, and we'll find 2 batteries there as well. So, no real damage to be done here. He's just going to turn on the laser and then quickly get on out of there. Oh, grabs a few probes out of range of the battery. Nice micro. But about 50 Adepts are about to overwhelm 2 sentries and a Stalker. So, not a very good defensive setup here for the Blue Protoss. I like the cannon. The cannon does help a little.
Yes, having that just extra damage output is a big deal, and like I say, the Stalkers have to come in to deal with this Void Race. That's units you're building that are not going to be glaved and benefiting from that upgrade you've built. So a little bit awkward is Nice for the moment, holding on. Second Void Race showing up, of course. Now no super battery. Continues to build Void Race. That is absolutely his belief in kind of how he can defend this. As the battery in the back will drain very soon, and that means that the Stalkers and the Sentry should be able to start getting through the Void Race. There's one more battery. Didn't see that in the mineral line. Is it enough?
The Void Rays are doing good. The Void Rays are doing really good. He even had a second Stargate on the way, but he cancelled it because he didn't have enough money. He wanted to build more stuff. It's amazing how well the Void Rays are doing. I thought this would be way more one-sided. Hats off to Nice for looking for an advantage where it lies. I don't think it matters. I think he's still going to lose everything there, but he killed 12 probes behind it. If the Void Rays could overwhelm these last Stalkers, maybe he could somehow hang on to his main. His natural Nexus will get focused down. A few Zealots warping in. They're going to try and defend this. The main base has been opened up. If those Adepts get inside, they will do huge damage. Recalling a few of those Immortals home, a very clever idea to at least salvage something.
Got to target fire the probes, otherwise you will automatically attack the cannons. So that is another nice little bonus to having the cannon in position there. That is going to keep you a little safer from those Adepts. Obviously, we lose a base, which is just a huge, huge deal. And Jieshi just has to get up enough anti-air at this point, because the only real thing that saved you there as Nice was the Void Rays. But hey, he found an out, he found an answer. At least keeps him alive for a little bit longer in the game. And now he's going to come across the map with the Void Rays, just in case there isn't enough anti-air. Maybe there would be even further potential and possibility for him.
Well, it does look like right now the Immortal Sentry Stalker moving out to the 3rd. Jieshi has got a lot of Stalkers now, and especially with Guardian Shield, Stalkers do okay against those Void Rays. They're not the best unit against them, but it's the mass ability, whereas the Void Rays come out one at a time very slowly. Going for a little Void Ray run by. It's going to maybe try and snag a Snorker and get back.
I think that's 2. not bad. Gonna get a couple probes as well. Obviously, there's plenty more stalkers coming in. Kind of surprised we haven't just started a blink. We're at the point now where we're gonna just have to keep building stalkers. Obviously, blink would be nice as Nice actually comes in himself and gets himself a bunch of probes right there. So more damage being done. Blink does now finally start. So Jieshi's kind of feeling the same. He's like, huh, I'm basically on pure stalker army. May as well get the upgrade as we lose a Void Ray. That's obviously gonna hurt.
Yeah, I feel like Nice right now. This is that, what was that third new Batman movie, the one that sucked out of the Dark Knight trilogy? Basically, he's had his back broken. He's trying to climb out of that pit that Bane put him in. It's like impressive, but it's also like your back's still broken, and he's kind of just falling down the sides of the pit. Like, he's getting damage done. He's doing really cool tech. He's going double robo now because he's like, I'm forcing stalkers so I get immortals and then maybe disruptors to counter this. It's amazing he's keeping the game as close as it is, but he's doing it from so far behind that even with closing the gap partway, it still looks pretty rough for him, because without Twilight, how do you ever secure a third base? Whereas Jieshi should be able to probe up that third base in the near future. On the other hand, 6 sentries, that's an awesome way of using force fields and guardian shields. You've got the Void Rays. We'll see what this double robo gets used for now. I love all of the ideas that Nice is throwing out. We're seeing a lot of kind of fancy tech switching hard counter ideas. None of them have done enough to get him in the lead, but he has closed the gap from an impossible position to one where maybe, just maybe, he can get back in this.
Giving himself a chance at the very least. The Oracles have been big, being able to do some damage here and there as well. 2 of them coming across again now, looking to, well, again, extend some work of damage output. You're up against 3 bases as well, so only finding 1 probe, not ideal. JJ doesn't even have too much of a rush to do anything right now, because obviously he is on that third base. He doesn't have to try and push the issue too much. If he just sits here, he is in an advantage. Nice, at least with the +1 upgrade, we'll have another advantage on his side, so it's 1 extra thing to be thinking about overall. As the Robo Bay continues up, and he's got to make something happen. He's got to do something a bit weird, and the Robo Bay at this point could just be it.
Mech Protoss, man. Void Rays, Immortals, Disruptors will be next. Yeah. This is how you try to get insane value, right? He's looking for that asymmetric power. Oracles go in yet again, but the Stalkers are ready for it. Those Oracles are, it's amazing they're still alive. Like, even there, I think the Stalkers could have blinked after them and actually killed one. But Nice has been annoying. He's been a nuisance. He's somehow ahead in the upgrades. The lack of a third base is kind of disastrous, and it is something where it feels to me like at any moment, Jieshi can just drop a 4th, build 10, 15 probes, and just have so much more money than his opponent that it's just in the bag, and just Stalker Zealot can roll over. But Jieshi's kind of been so focused on being aggressive that it keeps the supply close enough that there's like this inkling of hope for Nice, where I'm like, maybe he can do it, man. And then there's another part of me that's like the voice of reality that's like, come on, dude, that is a 25 army supply lead. Like, you're gonna need to walk into some disruptor shots as Jieshi to give this one up. But as I said, like, I feel like the way Nice is playing, this is the sort of stuff that so many people on the ladder, like the average Joes, can relate to this. Like, you run into that one weird Protoss player in PvP who's like, I just build cannons, batteries, and immortals, and then I add disruptors and void rays, and then if you leave me for 27 minutes, I make a maxed out carrier, mothership, tempest, storm army. And you're like, how do I beat this? You know, a lot of the average Joes play against this sort of stuff. We almost never see it in pro play, but it does have some advantages. We're going to see how Jieshi can pick it apart with his mobility, though. I like the force fields there. If you want to blink in, you have to use it aggressively. And then the disruptors, you'll notice they're far back in reserve. He's keeping them out of blink target fire range, because if he can just blink and focus the disruptors, he can overwhelm with the numbers. But if the disruptors are there to punish the forward blink, that's what their job is.
Got rid of 1 sentry at the front. The disruptor came so far forward, I thought I was going to get target fire, but didn't quite find the opportunity. Blink away, only 1 stalker dies. Super battery active, obviously third base will fall, and again, that's kind of just enough for now. You don't need to go pressing for too much extra than denying the base and taking that lead. We do need another disruptor shot, so the disruptors have done okay. However, now we're blinking forward, going to go after these immortals. Stasis ward helps a little bit, but maybe not enough. Another one tries to come up. The disruptor shot will fire. Stalkers do have the blink to get away, but it's into another stasis. The numbers are dropping down in terms of active stalkers, because so many of them are caught up. Yeah, I mean, now the Void Rays are going to try and get involved as well. Surely with reinforcements, Jieshi should just be okay. But it would be lovely if you could save some of these stalkers somehow. It's just, I ain't going to be very easily done. You get 3 caught in his stasis. Of course he does. Now blinking in for the Voids, though. Another disruptor going down. Fresh one gets denied. That is going to be doing it. And Jieshi takes game number 3.
That was awesome, dude. I feel like this is the series of dudes just doing great moves from behind. Like, Nice was so dead for the last 10 minutes of that game, but so many cool moves. Lay-in stasis traps, disruptors. You've got the Void Ray swap that somehow kept him alive. I mean, very cool ideas from Nice. It was desperate, but it needed to be desperate. When you're that far behind, you got to dig into your bag of tricks. You can't be like, I'll just make Blink Stalkers and have 1/3 as many as you. No, you got to make hard counters. You got to make units that have extreme strengths in some areas and extreme weaknesses in other, and then you try to make the other units to shore up those weaknesses, and you try to kind of stay one step ahead of your opponent. At the end of the day, Jieshi does get the 2-1 advantage, but he has to work for it. And I think that's a bit of a kind of moral victory for Nice, playing well from behind. And I, at the start of this series, expected him to go down potentially, one-sidedly. And now I feel like, this could go either way. He could bring it back. Jieshi still looks like the favorite, a little bit more confident in the macro, but a very fun game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A good time here is... I'm kind of with you. I kind of thought we were going to see a very aggressive series as well, right? But that has kind of been the case, but not thoroughly the case. Obviously, Nice has kind of brought in the more aggressive side of things, but at least this game also developed back into that kind of longer stage as well. And you can see how Nice is able to kind of give himself chances. The Void Rays really kind of, again, breathed life back into the game for him. So, see what happens now going into a game number 4 as Jieshi does have a chance to actually close the series out now. Nice, obviously, fighting to stay alive in the winner's bracket of the tournament.
Heck yeah, dude. PvP's warming us up well today. Of course, we've got a bunch of other matchups, especially in the second half of the day when we get to the European side, but very Protoss heavy, the Asian region so far. I'm excited for Coffee's match later as well. Hopefully returning to Terran for good in the TVP matchup. If Coffee chooses to play Protoss versus Protoss, then I'll be very mad. For those who don't know, Coffee did pick Protoss in 2 out of 3 of his games against Oliveira. Didn't go too well for him, but playing Oliveira doesn't really go well for anyone. So I don't think that's necessarily the race switch being the problem there.
No, I don't think the race switch had too much of an impact on that series. Maybe Coffee gets another map, but Oliveira has shown us many a time that his TVP is quite good against his friend in Coffee. As we head into the bottom right-hand corner to start off this game number 4, looking to not drop to the lower bracket just yet, will be the Blue Protoss player, Nice.
And in the top left, he's been looking solid as a rock so far, calm in the tumultuous waters of the Taiwanese PvP. In the top left, it's Jieshi. It's scary. Nice has played very dynamic StarCraft. You don't really know what he's going to try next. Jieshi stayed calm, though, and has navigated it very well so far. He's going to go for a Gate Scout, whereas Nice, of course, is part of the Haas school. So Jieshi is here, part of the Macro Protoss school of I'll scout and react to it. Nice is part of the Haas school of if I scout, it doesn't mean anything because you're just going to cancel it or do the opposite of what I saw. And information just hurts me because I'll just react wrong. That's kind of the thing that happens when you play against Haas enough in PvP is he really, the way he plays is so gamble focused. Sometimes he convinces you that scouting isn't worthwhile. It's a weird thing. Don't get me wrong. Nice will go scout now. It's just a bit later. He's trying to be a bit more efficient, but I truly do feel that it's hard to have faith in scouting in PvP in general because it's not just Haas. I mean, I'm using him as a bit of an extreme example. Anyone who's played Parting in a PvP, anyone who's played Hero in a PvP knows just how dirty a lot of the builds and transitions can be. I think MaxBax is probably the only top-tier Protoss player who doesn't really seem to mix much filthy cheese into his Protoss versus Protoss.
That's very true. I mean, this matchup just lends itself to being aggressive because there's so many ways to hide it. It's so difficult to naturally get the scout all the time, and sometimes some of the builds that people like to do just don't have a good defense straight away against some of the more aggressive setups as well. So it does lend itself to kind of encouraging everyone to maybe kind of try out that aggression, as it's going to be mirrored here on the early units. 2 Stalkers versus 2 Stalkers in the production. So that's going to be our starting point here for game at number 4. No one going to diverge from one another just yet. Waiting for that moment to come in the next little bit.
Yeah, cool to see a bit more of a fighting focus opening. 2 Stalker versus 2 Stalker. If one side does lose the early skirmish and lose a Stalker, it can spiral pretty hard. She's got a lot of minerals, but does queue up 3rd and 4th Stalker. Oh my gosh, mirrored build orders. All right. This one could be over very suddenly if one player starts losing Stalkers. Nice does variate, though, a little bit. Goes for the Stargate, whereas Jieshi is saving up those minerals. but he's not got a probe in position to build a Nexus. Okay, he does.
not.
He's just slightly slow. I was like, whoa, what's he doing, man?
I was with you. You mentioned Stary if you lose Stalkers. This is going to be a dead Stalker already from Jieshi, so the man who is building the Nexus is the one to lose a unit initially as well. Well, obviously we do stop Stalker production now from Nice, otherwise this might have continued. He's obviously waiting on the Stargate to finish, get that tech out. Meanwhile, Jieshi will have the sentries to provide him information with some hallucinations across the map. That was better than expected.
Yeah, good reaction by Jieshi. If he was there for half a second longer, he loses another Stalker in this spirals. But look, now he's seen 4 Stalkers. I mean, Jieshi's scouting is terrible. He's like, oh god, I'm getting all in, man. Oh god, I gotta build a robo, I gotta be safe. Little does he realize it's just an Oracle, and it's a macro build. Nice is just doing light pressure. He's forcing multiple shield batteries and a robo. This is a huge opening advantage for Nice. As I said, losing a first Stalker's big, and look at that. Cancels the battery. I love that move. Nice is realizing he's got his opponent scared, and he does not need any safety precautions. His opponent is stuck on the defense right now.
Completely stuck as a few Stalkers and sentries try and come out. The force field goes down. The Stalkers are kept away. You have the Oracle finishing up soon from Nice as well. South the Twilight Council is about halfway done. So that's about halfway through as the Oracle activates and multiple probes begin to go down. And Jieshi is having a nightmare of a start.
Oh, that's huge. 9 probes go down, and the Oracle doesn't even take much damage. Nice is building a Void Ray as well. That's just to be safe. He knows he's miles ahead, but an Immortal push could be scary, so he's like, let's build a Void Ray, get a robo of my own, let's have a bit of safety. And Jieshi sees all of this, so he's probably just going to have to probe up himself and try to recover on the economy. Seeing a Void Ray already built should really take away his hope of doing anything aggressive in this game. And the Oracle even tracking his army confirms that. Nice is in a great spot.
Robo facility for himself, finishing. Just got himself a Void Ray out as well. So he's very safe in case he gets attacked. And his army's looking good, his setup's looking good. Forges will come down similarly timed. Obviously just Nice maintaining a worker lead as well off of that early damage he dealt. So able to run from that, and you know, with the map control and the units that he has, likely he feels confident to pay, perhaps put the 3rd base down a little sooner also. So that could be another way in which he kind of keeps the eco advantage. He's also going to have the extra minerals to do that because he's up the probes. All of this, again, just leading towards Nice's advantage right now and kind of putting the pressure on our red Protoss to try and turn things around a little bit, make something happen so you can step back in it.
I like the transition into the Forge here. Nice is, of course, very slow on the Twilight, but that's okay. I think he's far enough ahead he can take a 3rd base. And I think if he does drop a 3rd base right now, it's just an amazing position to be in. Jieshi's going charge on 2 base, which is definitely not ideal, but he's up against a wall, and a 2 base charge Immortal Archon timing might be just what Jieshi feels like he's forced to do.
Yeah, honestly, I don't hate it though, right? I mean, we've seen throughout the Asia region so far in these PvPs, these aggressive 2 base timings can really kind of net you a way back into games that have not been looking good for you otherwise. There goes an Observer though, talk about the little things continuing to go Nice's way. That is going to be one of them as he knocks that Observer down. And yeah, extra gates, we are just going to commit to units. We are not going to stop from Jieshi. And I think rightfully so, he's far enough behind that playing into a 3rd base, you've still got to then find some way to kind of take an advantage back. This is a way to kind of diverge and potentially hit a time where your opponent could be weak and you could just end it right then and there and turn it around on the spot. Yeah,
going up to 8 gateways. He's going to try and clear the stasis trap blocking his 3rd, just to, make it look like he's going for a 3rd. But the Phoenix sees everything. Templar Archives, 8 gateways going up. Nice is like, oh, okay. Build some batteries, warp in once these gateways are ready. I wouldn't even mind just slow Zealots since his charge won't be ready in time probably. Twilight's just finished. Obviously, Chrono-Wing charge would be a high priority for Nice in this scenario. And yeah, you can already see he's warping in slow Zealots. Just kind of going, okay, I just need material. As long as I have enough stuff, stasis traps all together, we should be fine. And funnily enough, he's going Templar Archives instead of charge. So he's actually decided, you know what? Archons are so good against Zealots. If he goes Zealots, I need Archons. If I go too many Zealots, his Archons will wreck me. So I like the prioritization from Nice, who's got a good economy lead. Jieshi, of course, has been so scouted that he's changed his plan. He says, well, let's just take a 3rd, probe up, start +2, and we'll see how long it takes Nice to clue into that, because Nice is still turtling up, thinking there's an all-in coming. He hasn't realized that Jieshi switched it up.
And now we've got ourselves actually a worker lead from Jieshi, so Worker lead established. Obviously, gateway count is equal here. Upgrade is slightly Jieshi favored as well. He is going to start moving forwards. I mean, the base is spotted now from Nice with the hallucination, but as Jieshi presses forwards, he can fake some pressure. I don't think you ever want to commit at this point anymore. But move out with the hallucination, you'll see the setup, and I think he'll know there's too much there for him to attack into, and then he backs it up. But honestly, kind of right back into this game, no?
I don't like Nice going back to probes there. It feels like Nice is really stuck in between two opposite directions. Like he's building probes, then he's just making army and not building probes. So I'm like, oh, he's going for a timing, which is great. I think if he just hits the timing of 50 probes, he wins. But because he's going to have so much more stuff. But the thing is, he's not hitting that timing. He keeps going back to probes, adding a +2, adding a cannon. He's already invested in a lot of batteries. So it feels to me like he might be just a bit indecisive. Now, he has paused probing for good, it seems. But I'd love to see Nice move across this map and leverage this massive army advantage that he's got. I mean, I say massive. It's only 10 supply. Equal Archon and Mortal count. Similar upgrades. Man, I thought this would be a much bigger lead for Nice in this game. But yeah, double Oracle is going to harass in the natural. At least that's something.
Dives in. A few probes going down. And we do have +2s finishing soon as well as Nice just taking that fourth base, just saying, okay, well, I'm comfortable just to expand once again, so gets that set up pretty much immediately, gets that on the go. And the way we go with it is we just see ourselves a few more batteries and pylons coming into place, a couple more Zealots getting warped in. +2 is about to finish up as well on both sides, so those upgrades will remain even for the moment. Let's see, just now the charge time from Nice, that's obviously something he decided to kind of skip out on later. He talked about him prioritizing the Temple Archives. Now he's got a whole lot of charge lots that aren't actually charge lots. Yesterday we named these Roddy Zealots because apparently they run as fast as Roddy does, so that was Ben's nickname for them. So they're set up right now.
I've seen Roddy sprinting towards that casting desk after a smoke break, Woody. He
yeah,
is like a leopard. It's insane.
Yeah, when Roddy's needed at the desk, he upgrades charge for himself for a couple seconds. That's very true.
He puts his shoes back on and sprints over there real quick. Honestly, this is a big push for Jieshi. I'm impressed Jieshi's position. I don't think he should necessarily force the fight. Charge is not done for Nice, which I don't think is the worst thing. Obviously, it makes it hard to jump on your opponent, but sometimes that's good for you because your Zealots don't clump up for the enemy Archon shots as badly. Jieshi's done an amazing job of recovering this game, and Nice does have the bigger army though, so I think strategically pushing in is a mistake. I don't mind him hanging outside the base. I think that's fine for Jieshi, but if he attacks into a concave, it's going to be lights out real quick. 15 army supply advantage is nothing to sniff at.
No, it really is not, as Red Pros takes position, holds position on the map, but could really just, yeah, do with probably just add, well, just honestly, just backing up. I mean, the worker lead there for Jieshi, so if they both max, he's going to naturally have a smaller army. Now, he starts a rogue bait. I like that a lot. That's exactly what you want to do. If Nice isn't showing signs of moving out aggressively, you don't want to attack in. The tech up to Disruptors is the perfect way to give yourself an advantage now in the PvP.
I feel like Knights has just looked a bit stuck strategically ever since he scouted what appeared to be a 2-base Immortal Archon. Feels like he's kind of just maxing on not that much economy and not that high-tech an army, and oh gosh, he's getting out of position. He's not even tracking the enemy army right now. They're going past each other. Stuff's about to get weird, Wardy.
Well, Nice actually does start to turn around. Now, yeah, she sees this. I feel like this is a moment you back away because you've got so many of your units over towards that natural. This is not a moment to keep coming through. Force fields ain't going to help you here because the Archons are going to knock those down. Again, he's fighting in the natural at the same time, but his army here just takes such a bad fight. The Zealots, again, working their business, but I mean,
it's so close. It's very close, but the Archons do get through. You're absolutely right, Wardy. There was a moment where he was up that choke point, exposed, and he took so much surface area from the enemy Zealots and Archons, and it took him a while to start to step back. But he did do massive damage to Nice's natural. So if he can defend the counterattack, he's in a great spot. That is a big if, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Focuses down on the Archon, picks up, pulls back. He's down 20 army supply. Jieshi's in trouble. Nice should easily be able to kill this fourth base. He's on 4 Nexus behind it. That's enough to allow him to transition, but honestly, going for the throat's probably the better move. Nice agrees. He's going to go for this.
He just wasted his overcharge on that base. Nothing's there. So that's a huge mistake as we see the Zealots just charging into Archons. That's obviously a big part of the problem. Jieshi needs to hold on this high ground, but it just doesn't look like he'll have the numbers. He lost too much in that fight on the other side. He will see a few Zealots kind of reinforce this, but again, they're still going into so many Archons, and Archons are the magic factor of this right now. 60 army supply to the 20, and Jieshi looks as though he will not hold on here for this game number 4. And Nice is going to take us through to 5 games for the first time today. As GG is gold, we're going to go to a 5th and final game. These PvPs continue to be back and forth.
Absolutely, back and forth. Nice gets himself a lead and then kind of gets stuck sitting at home maxing on a basic army comp. But I think that actually confused Jieshi as much, because we were saying, oh, he's got the bigger army. He didn't know that he had the bigger army, right? I don't think he had as much vision of the economy and realized, even though you can maybe see it's a bit bigger than yours, when you get to those giant blobs of Zealot, Archon, and Mortal, it's kind of hard to read. So I feel like Jieshi kind of got to the point where he's like, well, you're just camping at home. You're doing nothing on the map, nothing aggressive. You must be like trying to go Disruptors or Sky Toss or investing in different areas. Little did he know, he was ahead on upgrades, ahead on economy, probably had a slightly higher tier composition because I think his Archon count was a little higher as well. And he was going Disruptors behind it. So he was definitely getting to a much higher tier comp. It was not the right move to attack there. We could know that and see that, but I think there's a lot of inference that happens in high-level StarCraft where you go, if he's sitting at home defending, it's because he's investing in other things, he's trying to survive, and if he buys enough time, that's going to pay off big. You know what? I'm maxed out. My army's pretty good. I've got nice upgrades. Let's go for a timing distract in there. And honestly, I think it could have worked if he pulled down that ramp on the left, as you'd pointed out during the fight. You're like, most of his army's on the right. Why is he fighting? Number one. But number two, he was up the top of the ramp. He should have pulled down the ramp and been started stepping backwards. A lot of his Archons were trapped behind his army as well. Whereas at that point, if you got 9 Archons shooting 20 Zealots charging you, those Zealots just disappear. You know, lights out, they're gone. And then you can disengage because the Zealots are the only really fast unit that can chase you down. So definitely Jieshi could have executed that a little bit better, but I think he was somewhat stunned by just how much stuff Nice had.
Well, it's time for game number 5. The first time we're getting a game 5 today in this PvP. And we will see who's going to be joining Oliver in that upper bracket final. The winner of this map will decide that. So let's head into it. It has been a bit of a back and forth PvP. We've seen all sorts of different things being used and utilized. It's time to figure this out. Who is advancing into that upper bracket final? Who's dropping down to the lower bracket? In the bottom right of Golden Aura, our Red Pros player is Jieshi.
And his opponent in the top left, full of surprises today. A great Stalker into Oracle opening that last game. Let's see what he's got to surprise us in game 5. In the top left in the blue, it's Nice. High range, Nice's style. Nice almost looks... Yeah, there's like a very opposite nature game to game, right? Sometimes he does play quite defensive macro and switches gears. Other times it's just crazy variations of aggression and all in and weird proxies. He definitely runs that whole gamut. And as a result, Jieshi's just like, yeah, I'm going to keep scouting. Like, I need to know what version of Nice is showing up here in game 5. It's a deciding match. I can't take any risks.
This it's going to be really intriguing to see what the plan is. As 2 gates come down a piece. Wait to see where these two are going to diverge. Is there any way we see the aggression in this game 5? I mean, PvP is always a possibility. These guys do believe in their kind of one basey builds. Jieshi has been a bit more about that expansion all the way through the series, whereas Nice has been happy to be the aggressor, although when he has been the aggressor, it's not really worked out for him, so maybe he will, again, stick to the macro as well.
Well, we haven't seen a lot of 2-gate versus 2-gate, and I would like to just see Sentry expand, honestly. I think it's a great move, and I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, both of them almost cautious in game 5. You see like 6 sentries, really fast third base. It's bizarre. It would be different for this region, but that's exactly why I feel like game 5, the unexpected sometimes does happen. But keep our eyes on those gateways. Stalker sentry for Nice, sentry for Jieshi. Yeah, they're both going sentries for the start. Definitely indicative of expand builds. Jieshi's gonna go for a super quick Nexus. Whereas, yeah, Nice minerals. Where are Nice minerals? Why is Nice so much lower on minerals? Just a Stalker? Does it make that much difference? I guess he's built an extra probe as well. And because his pylon goes down before the Nexus. Ah, okay. Yeah, that actually adds up to quite a big delay, isn't it? Just going only 1 sentry at the start and then Nexus off 24 probes gets it down very early.
Yeah, that is a big deal. As our Stalker actually catches the probe here. The Stargate coming up then. And that Nexus just so much sooner from Jieshi. So the Stargate really has some weight to pull because it's going to have to make up for the timing difference on this Nexus. Obviously, it is nice to have the Oracles kind of throughout the game because they're going to be able to continue to provide harassment and so on, and vision and scouting. But yeah, for the moment, you're just taking a later Nexus, so you'd like to catch up a couple of probes at the very least. Hallucinations will fly by each other, and we will go across the map trying to get that info. This Stalker will try and play the denial game, but this hallucination will be all the way through to the main, and it should be able to see absolutely everything before any chance of going down. And yeah, knowing the Stargate is there just means you can prep properly, battery in the main mineral line, and that is a huge, huge investment.
There's always part of me that wonders if you can skip the battery and just have extra stalkers, but I feel like that's a risky proposition. So good to see the players being safe, and a Robo goes down now for Nice as well. Twilight goes down for Jieshi. Jieshi's up a couple probes, the Nexus up a lot quicker. Advantages are there for Jieshi, but because Jieshi didn't open Blink, it's not a massive advantage, right? If Jieshi opened Blink and saw this, it would be huge, because you can shut down the Oracle very hard and go for a quick third. But instead, Jieshi's got to open up two different tech routes, right? Observers plus Blink, the Robo and the Twilight both, and then you kind of go in the other direction.
Oracle getting deflected.
Slows down the third a little bit, but that's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right? The more you slow down a third base, the happier you're going to typically end up being. And just seeing our Oracle activate, you're just going to be seeing a probe getting taken out. Hallucination keeping track of things, but there is the third now down. So Jieshi has that third base timing advantage on his way to Blink. And this Robo from Nice means that he's just going to be playing a much slower composition where he's just going to be building the Immortals. He'll have to be playing just a much more defensive style. Eventually, you can kind of attack with Immortals if you get enough of them too, but it's going to be tough against someone who has Blink and control of the map with that.
Both sides taking a third now, so as they both gear up for the 3-base versus 3-base game, we're definitely going to see a much more likelihood of a big Blink war and a big macro game to decide everything. The double Oracle is now about to arrive with 3 Stalkers and a battery. More than prepared is Mr. Jieshi, the Forge going down, as well as a third gateway, and rounding out that tech nicely whilst maintaining the worker advantage. I feel like, oh, no, that's not a good time to leave. Okay, whew, does send 2 Stalkers back.
Yeah, that was not the prettiest time to be starting to move out a little bit. As we do have the Twilight Council halfway done, the Immortal continuing up. And we just see the couple of Adepts still coming through here, grabbing a couple of probes. So some extra probes going down. That's 4 workers killed so far. Stalkers still firing away. There's going to be another Adept dropping. And that is a defense in the end. But yeah, 4 probes dead, and that does keep Nice now in a couple of workers advantage.
Oh, I like this move. 10 extra shields or hit points isn't going to keep you alive there, is it? So double Stalker come forward, snipes, and Nice. He's taking the 3rd and 4th gas, so it's 4 gas against 3 gas. Immortals building charge on the way. Now that's interesting though. The charge is interesting. So Nice is basically saying, hey, I'm going to skip Blink entirely. While Jieshi is playing the more standard Blink style. Blink is the better, well-rounded tech, right? Because it allows you to defend harassment, do harassment of your own, pick off units as they come across the map. But, I mean, just having more Zealots and Immortals sometimes can overwhelm. And when push comes to shove, Stalkers are not as good at fighting in a straight-up fight as Zealots are, right? They're way more expensive. So if you don't really get value out of that Blink, then you're like, hey, why even bother? And I always say, like, for low-level players, honestly, why bother with Blink? Just go straight charge is usually better. The question is, you know, can Jieshi engineer the situations where he's out microing Nice for extended periods using that Blink? Because that's when you really get to see the lack of Blink just be like, oh my god, you need Blink. Why don't you have Blink? You're getting out-traded so badly. We'll see if that can come to play as Jieshi's still just kind of neck and neck, adding his own charge. And I do imagine Nice adds his own Blink after the charge.
Would make sense. I mean, eventually you may as well just get that upgrade. Otherwise, the Twilight Council just sat there doing nothing, and just Blink is such a nice thing to have. And as we do have +1 a little ahead of Jieshi, we'll see if he is able to keep that up with +2 as well in the next few moments. Get that set to go. And this army's actually moving forwards. Okay, waiting for that charge to be done. We're going to send it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pure Zealot Stalker with 1 Sentry and a Prism, right? And Immortals, Oracles, there is an Archon morphing with battery and a Prism to micro it. Like, you can, if you keep your Immortals and your Archons alive, you can defend this. But it's definitely on knife's edge, and it's going to be almost impossible to defend that 4th Nexus. 4th Nexus in trouble, a couple of defensive Zealots warping in as well as Immortals there trying to build. But, oh, he's got to back away. And this is that moment where the blink shows its power, because this is not an all-in. Jieshi's taking a fourth. He's going to get massive damage here, but it's flexible. He can blink back and disengage whenever he feels like it.
Well, Stalkers will sit out the front and just try and get some damage dealt, good force fields, but that's what the Prism is there for, to evacuate those units. Blink ticking along here from Nice, and Jieshi just going to be taking a fourth behind this. So again, making use of the fact that he's got map control right now, making the most of this situation as we are going to engage in, get a few Zealots, a few Stalkers up into the natural already as well. So things are getting a little spread out here. Now, obviously, the Prism has to do its best in terms of keeping these units alive as we begin to dance around, and Jieshi is taking an army supply lead. Can he keep the momentum up going in as he's getting to the last few Ghana Tech units? If he can knock those down, he might just have a free pathway through.
That was a sick defense on the ramp there for Nice, but his natural does lose 10 probes. Doesn't come cheap. On the other hand, Jieshi's not probing at all. Remember, he's not building Immortals and Archons, and those units, 2 Immortals went down, the Archon's still alive. Great defense for Nice. Can he stabilize? Equal army supply on both sides as the Prism heads into the main base. Jieshi is going to be doing a big Zealot warping up there. The Zealots in the main base are going to cause problems. There's a battery and it's a cannon, sorry, and a few Zealots warping in, holding the choke. Hodor Zealots hanging on very nicely. Immortal Stalker at the front pushes back the blink as well. This looks like a successful defense for Nice. Even traps those Zealots in there. Really nicely done. The Oracle even adds its laser beam in. Nice defense for Nice.
Very nicely done, as we just have ourselves the Phoenix, the Immortal, +2 attack coming up from Nice as well. So he's trying to play catch up there, and he's bought himself time to survive through this stage of the game where his opponent was being hyper aggressive. And he comes out, but still with the tech unit lead, 3 Immortals and an Archon, and only just now is 1 Immortal being made from Jieshi. So, like, end of the point where Nice is maybe on a better quality army, but again, it's about the size of it, and also that 4th base is allowing Jieshi to get away with kind of playing a lower tech force because he can throw units away more easily and replace those as he goes.
Oracle going around the back there, trying to get some counter aggression. He's going to need that 4th base up, but so hard to get out of here. And this is the advantage Blink gives. Even if your attack doesn't straight up win the game or fully succeed, you still can force your opponent into a bit of a corner. Now, obviously, Knights does his own Blink up. The Stalker count is so different, though. 12 against 31. It's the Immortals, the Archons, and the Prism that are obviously adding the power. If push comes to shove, I'd say Nice Army wins any day. But if you're able to just chip away, blink, skirmish a bit, that's where Jieshi can keep getting value. And with that 4th base fully mining, he's already getting that value right now. Zealots keep trying to breach the main base. There is a Phoenix ready for it. I love this Phoenix edition just to shut down the rotation in the main. It's not going to kill the Prism, but it'll force it out.
It is nice as we still chill on the left-hand side. Jieshi trying to look at pushing up this ramp. Problem is, Golden Aura itself is very difficult to push up those ramps on. It's just very narrow, as we are going to get rid of this cannon that was causing issues before. But the warping gets cancelled as the Stalkers help to get rid of the Prism. And this warping will not do too much. So Nice is going to have a hold in the main base as well, clearing this out. And looking okay there as we chrono boost out. An Oracle +3 attack is on the way. And +3 finish of Jieshi. He's maintained this upgrade lead throughout, but from here, he's not going to be able to take any more attack upgrades in his advantage, so it would have to be armors or shields. Still just expanding to stay a base ahead, and that's really imperative with the style that he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, being a base ahead is great. I'd normally say it's a game-winning advantage, but we saw in that last game, Nice likes sitting on 54 probes and maxing out. He doesn't care. As long as he's got a sick army, he's happy. Stalkers blinking in, that's a very dangerous move. And honestly, Jieshi has too many Stalkers at this point. That's 40 Stalkers. That's a silly number. It's good for harassment, but I'd like to see him split it up, hit 2 sides, and the double Robo Disruptor transition, which he's going for, triple Robo, in fact, cannot come soon enough. If Jieshi gets the triple Robo Disruptor out, it's the power behind the extreme mobility of the Stalkers that can really win in this game. Gets the Nexus for 3 or 4 Stalkers against the guy who you've already kept off the 4th all game. Not too bad. Cost for cost, obviously long term the trading there is better for Nice than Jieshi, but in the immediate term, when you add into account all the lost mining time, the tempo is massive for the red Protoss. Keep in mind though, tempo seems good, but if your opponent just keeps building that core of army, things can be very scary. It's a 20 army supply lead right now, and there's more probes building. If Jieshi builds a ton of cannon battery, that's good insurance against the counter push, and you can see he's doing that. He's learned his lesson from the last game. He's like, dude, if a push comes, I'm gonna have so much stuff to fall back on. Triple Robo Disruptor, mass cannon battery. The Robos are spread across all the bases, which we love to see after that first series.
That's a very good point. It's like seeing Robos dying in important moments today, as this Disruptor War sets up here on Golden Aura. Both players heading into full undisrupted production. We're getting observer speed because information and vision is going to be big, and that is going to be a bunch of Stalkers getting caught in a stasis. Now, that is Stalkers that did not blink in. They walked in there, so they will have their blink to get out the moment that stasis fades. That is a big thing to note, because obviously otherwise that could be very troubling as well.
Oh my, that's a big, big fight here. I mean, just saying, hey, your Stalkers are trapped. You want to fight? You want to defend these boys? Oh, he focuses the prism. That's cute. Blinks into another stasis trap. You know, that's actually almost like it keeps them safe. Just remember, Blink does not reset its cooldown while they're in stasis. So they're going to come out of that having just blinked, which means there is no escape from the next one. And I love these stasis traps to stop the reinforce saving the day. Nice, going to be getting some good value trades. Now, good way to set it off with just a single Stalker. Smart way to engage here for Jieshi. But nonetheless, those Stalkers surrounded get absolutely wrecked. And you've got a Disruptor, but so does Nice. And now we've got a Disruptor war, and you've had this big economy advantage. What have you done with it as Jieshi? You've tried to breach the main, but Nice defense has been so good. He keeps defending the Prism Zealot. Now you've got to set up the advantage with the vision, especially since Nice is trying to play Skytoss, which is just crazy to do this off this economy, but it will be the ultimate thing in the long term. So it's all about observers here. Whoever can get more observers out is going to have the advantage. If you can see where they are, you'll be able to go forward, get the better Disruptor shots, and try to take their Disruptors out. If you take their Disruptors out, it can be game winning. The big army on the left is the important one. The Zealots are just a distraction on that side. Oh, gets one Disruptor and a triple shot. Big triple shot from Nice. Jieshi, he didn't have the vision. No observers, whereas Nice did. And Nice has 3 oracles, so he can keep tagging the observers, and he's getting tempers. Dude, Nice has better late game. We were talking about Jieshi being the better macro player. Honestly, he looked way more solid in the early and mid game. Right now, Nice is getting better for the late game, getting ready for the late game way better. Like, Jieshi went mass Stalker, took forever to go Disruptors, and now he's stuck on that mid game. Nice, if he gets out to carriers as well, I don't think he's killable, and it's going to be so hard for Jieshi to catch up. His transition is so late.
Well, we have our oracles setting up a few more stasis wards. Jieshi is, very late to transition, and everything in terms of the current army looks great for Nice. He's been great defensively so far. He's not panicking that he's down in bases because he knows his opponent has been flinging units at him, so he can afford to kind of be behind a base because he's been trading better. And his army that he's now set up onto way more quickly is going to allow him to keep trading better into the future as well.
All right, we've got Stargate Dark Shrine on the way for Jieshi. He is thinking about that late game. Plasma Shield upgrades as well. He's also got the better gateway count. He does have 17 gateways to 8, and he's still building more. I mean, if there's an opening at all that Nice loses a fight, Jieshi will swarm. But I think Nice has done a great job, and I think he's happy to sit down 10 probes. He's got a bigger bank. Jieshi's building more infrastructure. Great Zealot counterattack. Catching these cannons when they just start, that's a lot of value. They're not getting cancelled, which means lots of kills, lots of lost minerals.
Yeah, good to knock him down just one base at least as we play the Observer pickoff game as well, so we keep that going. You have the Mothership finishing from Nice, so an extra little tool in the arsenal for him in these upcoming engagements, in these upcoming battles. And he does have the attempt of a 5th base here. His opponent's going to be on top of it though, that's likely a cancel, and we'll have to just try this one again in a few moments. It wasn't a cancel, it was a kill, but either way it goes down. We're pretty rich right now, we're not going to pick bones over that. I was just going to be seeing a couple Stargates still coming up on either side. Nice just continues to leak Zealots into the bases of Jieshi at the moment.
This is what you got to do, because they build so much cannon battery on the edge bases. You want to go up the guts. This is something people forget in late game. Is like they go, oh man, he's got 20 cannons on this base on the right, 20 cannons on this base on the left. I can't do any counterattacks. And you go, you know the main is wide open, right? The main and the natural. So sometimes you just run past the static defenses into the production and it actually gets more done. And there's even juicier targets there as well with all the tech. So I like Nice awareness of that. He is going to be building 4 more Tempests. I think getting about 6 Tempests is awesome in this matchup. Problem is, it's very hard to go win the game, like, just with the Tempest power. It's more about they're there to protect you against carriers, to pick off the enemy disruptors, and you're basically just trying to win with your own disruptor push on the ground. Whereas I imagine Jieshi's probably going to go for the carrier thrust. We'll find out soon, as his Stargate double Cybercore transition is there now. And we'll see, is he going to go for the carriers? The carriers are more of a jump on top, and they'll obviously wreck Tempest in a raw fight. But if the Tempest can shoot them down, pull back, shoot, pull back, they will obviously hard counter carriers, given the space to micro. But so far, Jieshi's max not making a transition to the air until he finds a way to clear out some supply. Observer goes down on both sides. Tempest chipping away.
Yeah, a couple disruptive shots just warning as Nice has obviously made his way down to this low ground, so he knew a position for him to kind of defend in. Lost an Oracle there.
Yeah, two Oracles actually went down. He does rebuild 2 instantly. That forward observer on the right for Jieshi's getting, you know, huge pickoffs now. And I'm going to actually keep checking the dead observer count. So basically it's 6 for 6 right now. And I'm going to check that throughout the game because that's actually a really good metric in late game PvP to see who's actually controlling the map a lot better. Cannon Battery Archon trying to defend this northern side. The Archons are just got to be careful of the Disruptors, which is why Nice is pre-spreading those. Does lose a few cannons, but these Tempests will scare back that Protoss force. You can even catch some of these Disruptors on the rotation. Stalker counterattack in the south doing big damage right now. Ooh, could maybe get some of those Disruptors, but Nice is very cautious. He doesn't want to get jumped on by enemy Blink Stalkers, so he's playing it super careful.
Yes, he is. We see a few Stalkers still going after those Zealots. The rest of the Zealots come charging through. And we have the defense made. So Jieshi will hold on here. As Nice trades out these Stalkers, he's replacing them with Tempest. So he has a plan for what he wants to go into. As he loses out in one way, he will gain in another, in theory. As he was actually now going to go into Carriers. So we're going to start a Carrier on Carrier army. And I think that's the right call, because at this point, your army's good enough to hold out to get to a good amount of Carriers. And Carriers are just going to be so huge deeper into this game.
You only need enough Tempest to one-shot a Carrier, one-shot a Colossus, one-shot a Disruptor. Right? Any more than that, and what are they doing? They're all shooting the same target anyway. If you're using them correctly, they should be focus-fired most of the time. So going Carriers, the actual raw fighting unit, much smarter. I love that he made that cancel. He's also a little ahead on the Plasma Shields and those air upgrades, significantly ahead. Jieshi's starting to go Carriers of his own. Disruptors are coming forward, starting to clear out that static D. The Zealots and the Stalkers will have to back off. Mining more bases is Jieshi, but I'd actually like to see Jieshi transfer workers to all the forward bases. Get the gold base and even try to mine the top base out. If you're playing a more mobile style, you're essentially playing late game Zerg versus Terran. Jieshi's the Zerg, Nice is the Terran building Ghost Planetary, right? What have we learned in the last few years? Mine their base out. If you're going to play a less efficient composition but get more map control with your mobility, you have to take their resources. And we actually just saw his screen look at that top base, which makes me think he might be sending a probe there very soon. He's definitely going to go take the bottom left base as Jieshi, but we'll see. He's going to have to steal some resources. He's blinking on the top. Oh my gosh. He's actually diving in on that northern base. Again, he keeps just trying to clear out the cannon battery, and funnily enough, it feels like he's almost just like, hey, my value is just going to be sniping static and running away before your army can get that. Like, I'm just going to get free mineral pickoffs and slowly wear you down.
Well, DT's just play cleanup around the map. Again, we essentially just kind of building up until at some point something's going to snap and we're just going to end up in this kind of massive trade. So just kind of building through to that point. Yeah, well, another DT getting caught, just little bits and pieces right now. Resources lost about 3,000 difference. With the amount of base we have at this stage, it's not a big deal. Of course, note that Jieshi obviously has a way higher bank, so when he does trade, his rebuild is going to be fairly instant, and he's going to be able to rebuild a lot. He doesn't have as much gas as Nice, but obviously gas needs the minerals to be able to make use of that gas anyways.
Nice does take out a Disruptor, but he loses a bunch of his own units as well. He's killed 7 Disruptors for 1 so far this game. That time, though, Jieshi does win the trade on the second round. But Nice is going to secure the northern base, and he can pick off a few Disruptors on the retreat. They're not a very fast unit.
No, and they actually turn around.
Yeah,
they make it even easier for a second there as we get a couple extras, so Nice is able to chase away to that upper right. Now even more stack defense coming down as he really solidifies this location. Obviously he needs to do the same on the top side, hold that 6th base, and then eventually he's probably going to make a play for the gold. That would be his final base versus his opponents in the upper right. But we're ways away from him really reaching out to do that, considering he's barely gotten to these other bases so far.
I'm kind of known recently as the guy who won't stop shouting about how good Storm is in late game PvT and how underused it is. I don't know about Storm in PvP though, Wardy. I feel like having 1 or 2 High Templar hit as Storm is good, but I almost feel like just activating Guardian Shield's probably more important, and I don't think either side has a sentry right now. I feel like just having a single Guardian Shield in the fight with the Interceptors fighting is probably more important. I don't know, like, do you think it's worth it? I guess any damage is worth something, but I don't know. I've never really seen Storm added in late game PvP.
I feel like it's so hard to get the right Storm. It is the problem. Like, if you can, like, storm your opponent's Interceptors and stuff and soften things up properly, then sure, without killing yourself, but I feel like that's very difficult to do. And obviously these High Templar are going to be a big gas investment. You're going to have them in the right place to get those storms off. So yeah, I'm intrigued by that choice. And we'll see if he can kind of make something of it as Zealots try and dive here, but that's a super battery.
They are very supply efficient. Oh, he's going to win the disruptor trade again. Jieshi struggling in these disruptor wars. I think looking at how he's put High Templar on the bottom with his cannon, I think the idea is if the carriers attack here, I can storm on top of the cannons because buildings don't take storm damage, kill all the interceptors. So it's just like, it's almost like a bit of bonus static defense so carriers can't like push through a base suddenly. And it'd also be good against Zealots as well. It's not really going to do anything to the bigger, chunkier units, but good against Interceptors, good against Zealots. Not a bad addition. I do think Jieshi not mining any resources off this top base that Nice has is probably the biggest thing that's like been missing. Despite that, he still gets the whole top right and the bottom left base. And that is, I don't know, 10,000 minerals, 5,000 more gas. Like it's an insane amount. Actually, it's like what, 2,000, 4,500 gas a base. That's 9,000 extra gas he's going to mine. Like, that's crazy. Nice is looking like he's playing a much more technical, efficient style, but this is going to put the pressure on him not just to be efficient, he's going to need to slaughter Jieshi when it comes to the trading. He needs to absolutely one-sidedly manhandle him.
Yep, these Immortals at least doing a nice little job of picking off all the pylons down here and slowing this base down in general a little bit, so this ain't bad. Again, a little bit of a trade with these Immortals is decent. The Oracles are going to show up to help against the Stalkers. The Immortal going to try and help too, and funnily enough, there's going to be a win still from Nice as he didn't really deny the base in full though.
Yeah, he doesn't deny the base, but still a good trade. I think he was looking to get rid of the Immortals anyway and replace them with more air. Now he's going 15 Tempests. I once again want to reiterate what I said. How are you going to use Tempests? Because he's going to have enough to basically kill 3 carriers in one shot. But no one's able to micro target fire on 3 different carriers while also starter stepping backwards, right? Nice. Unless he's going to break what we know about what Protoss players and StarCraft players in general are able to do, I feel like there's massive overkill, and it's arguably way too much. And if those Tempests do get caught by the carriers, and the carriers get on top with the Interceptors launched, it's lights out. Like, you need to recall out of there straight away. That being said, one other thing to keep in mind, Mothership Cloak. You need a Revelation for Jieshi, because you've only got 2 Observers. If those Observers go down, Mothership Cloak could ruin your day.
It's very true. You need that detection permanently, otherwise, exactly as you say, cloak up on the motherships and you can't see enough. You're only going to have... Now our army is going to approach this left-hand side. We're just going to go to pick off the stag defense. Yeah, this is where you want it, and we are going to drop Storm 1, Storm 2. Well,
that's cute.
Storm 3.
Does get a few Interceptors, but not enough to do that much, and the base still does die. Interceptors are pretty cheap. The Interceptor count got about half there, down from about almost 120 down to 60. Time Warp also a nice move. Jieshi getting a base snipe. This is huge. Jieshi has so many of these carries, but they need to get out of here. They need to get out of here. You do not want to get those Tempests picking you off. Remember, Tempests are slightly faster than carriers. They can pick them off in the retreat. You can see how good they are at shooting them down. Snipes an Observer there as well. A few of his own Tempests are out, but only a few. And if you can ever get those carriers at the edge of the Tempest range, it's really powerful. But you can see how careful Nice is. Because like I said, if those Interceptors all get launched, your army's going to get smashed.
Yeah, he's being very cautious about it, as DTs in the main will be met by a whole position of throws, but now the cannon goes down, the DTs will continue to have a great time. We recall back into this top side, and we'll go cleaning that up. That was a big recall. That was the entire army getting recalled back, and that's going to be Jieshi able to come back over to the left-hand side here, and he is really starting to dominate Nice in terms of just army movement at the moment.
Oh, and he left the DT up there. He's F2'd his Observers back to the south. Jieshi using the army movement so well. Just so well, dude. Look at this. He's just ripping apart his infrastructure. There's still that DT, like I said, that he left behind. Nice is kind of panicking a little bit, and he has kind of got his whole army on one group to a certain extent. Like, yes, he's splitting his Oracles off decently well, but everything else seems to be grouping up. There we go. Finally, we see it, like a bit of a split of these units. DTs do blink on top. Disruptor actually gets focus fire. Dude. This is actually really painful just because no Observer up here.
No obs to really save us, and that is just going to be, again, a little bit more of a problem. Let's have ourselves 5 more carriers building up currently from Nice, so he is replacing that supply, but now he's on 24 workers, so don't get me wrong, he has a bank, and he doesn't have a lot of bases. He really needs to smash in this army fight, which he's got the army supply to do, but it is going to do or die, and you know, he's got to then also withstand the reinforcements of his opponent as well, which Jieshi is going to keep on mining more with all of these bases taken and the probe count still high.
7 Stargates to remax for Jieshi, as well as right now 23 gates with 2 more building. So he's going to be able to remax very quickly. On the other hand, Nice has the Fist of Nice right now. You know, we all remember the Fist of Need, 200 army supply of Protoss, ripping Rogue apart in late game back in 2018, I think it was, 2017, one of those BlizzCons, maybe 2016 actually. But it was a really, you know, powerful army. Jieshi should be throwing probes away to build up his army, because that's the one way he could lose this game right now. Get out of there, Jieshi. He does, like Nice's economy is dead, but Jieshi has to watch out for the counterattack. Now, to be fair, like I said, I think it's way too many Tempests. They're best in this position when they pick off the carriers from far away. Let's take out another one of these carriers, down to just 12, up against the 9 of Nice. Nice has got a similar carrier count and 13 more Tempests. That is ridiculous. Oracle does get focused down. Tempests, nice focus fire for Nice. Really good micro by Nice. Very aggressively picking away. What are we going to rebuild here as Jieshi? He's not throwing his probes away. He's got a big bank, but Nice can still win this game. When it gets this late, denying a few bases and getting an economy lead does not win you the game. You need to do more than that. Time warps do go down. Ooh, Mama's gone for Jieshi. Jieshi's in trouble right now.
Yep, losing that mothership, and he's kind of getting pinned into this corner. Not really an easy way out, and that does mean that Nice can continue to just get picks. We're going to recall away, but that's obviously going to give up the top side. We get one more Tempest, so Nice making the most of the opportunity. As yeah, now he's going to get rid of everything on this top right base. That is one base denied. One step in the right direction here from Nice. These probes will go down from Jieshi, and I can't imagine we're going to be replacing those. Time to add more army in, as he actually builds 6 DTs just then, so it's once again going to be, well, he actually moves to the left-hand side with his own force, so he's going to go counterattack some bases of Nice, who is re-expanding to the top, and he actually just recalled over to defend the left side, so that's going to be a big engagement over here, and he actually saves that base, which is mostly important just for repositioning.
That was a beautiful move from Nice. That was recall with extra steps. He used the Nexus to recall the mothership, then he used the mothership to recall the army like 3 seconds later. I don't think he realized the army was so close. He was like, oh, I should get ready to recall over there. That was kind of hilarious. The DTs on the top get defended this time. Nice defends the base in the middle of the map, though. Ooh, the cannons are going to get cleared up. Sorry, I thought that was flying units. I didn't realize it was the cannon battery from earlier. Jieshi's building mass Tempest of his own, but he's still only at 6 versus 17. He's got some catching up to do. The Oracle Revelations are huge because they give a big vision advantage. One of them goes down, trading an Oracle for 2 carriers. That's a trade I'll take any day. Dude, Nice is looking fantastic. Another carrier goes down. Another carrier falls. Disruptors landing on the Stalkers as well. Nice is all over it. He's got the confidence. The Fist of Nice right now is destroying. It's absolutely incredible. I can't believe it, dude. He looked like he was getting ahead and Jieshi was too slow to transition. Then Jieshi started picking him apart. But Jieshi did not realize the army supply disparity. He traded out so much of his army for economy, and he let his economy stay too big. If you're down 50 army supply and they've got the Tempest advantage, they're going to be able to overwhelm. And Nice making a series of insane comebacks in this series. He's been down 1-2. And now, look at that. Jieshi's bank is empty. There's still a 60 army supply advantage. What a comeback here for Nice.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. And he was really kind of pinned in a lot as well, but he played the patient game. He knew he could get one massive army, and he knew he'd likely have one shot. Denies them Nexus with the mothership building off of it as well. We're knocking down Tempest as we go, and this is going to be enough from Nice to send us through into the upper bracket final. Nice, he was so shaky during the group stages, and now going to get a shot at Oliveira tomorrow to make it to the grand final. So amazing stuff for him, as the last few units of Jieshi are going to try and do something on the top, but it looks realistic for them to ever do enough to bring this game back. But about to get on top of production, Stargates are going to be in trouble, and this is where Nice continues to expand on the lead, which is already very well set.
Tempest slowly sieging here for an attempted base trade, but this is the slowest base trade ever in the terms of what Jieshi's doing in Nice, whereas Nice is clearing out the buildings so darned quickly. Guys, we're looking at a 32,000 resource lost advantage. 32,000 resources and climbing. That is what I call efficiency, my friends. Oh, me, oh my. Nice just dances all over this. The Stalker's helping out. That is ridiculous. That's 2-to-1 efficiency. How often do you see that in a pro match? Nice shows an ability to come back from behind. He showed glimpses of this in that earlier game with the